Today, we are diving into the latest twist in the US-China tariff saga. President Trump's last-minute executive order extending the truce by 90 days. Just hours before tariffs were set to skyrocket, Trump pulled the trigger on a delay, citing Beijing's significant steps. But is this a genuine breakthrough or just more smoke and mirrors? We'll break it down point by point, exposing the strategies, the blunders, and what it means for you, the everyday consumer caught in the crossfire. Buckle up. This is a 10-minute deep dive into a high-stakes game that's reshaping the world economy. Let's start with the drama. It's August 11th, 2025, and the clock is ticking toward midnight. Without action, US tariffs on Chinese goods would have surged to a punishing 145%, while China's retaliatory duties on American exports would hit 125%. We are talking about a virtual trade embargo between the world's two largest economies, enough to send shockwaves through global supply chains, spike inflation, and potentially tip fragile recoveries into recession. So why did Trump sign the executive order? Simple: escalation risked immediate pain for American businesses and voters. The truce, first struck in May after talks in Geneva, was meant to buy time for negotiations. But as the deadline loomed, Washington's hawks pushed for a hard line, while moderates like Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent warned of fallout. Trump, ever the deal maker, opted for extension over explosion. This isn't magnanimity. It's pragmatism. Blinking now avoids a voter backlash from higher prices on everything from iPhones to farm equipment. But let's ridicule the absurdity. For a president who campaigned on winning trade wars, this feels like kicking the can down the road again. If tariffs are such a beautiful tool, why not wield them? It's like threatening a knockout punch but settling for a timeout. Trump's order explicitly credits Beijing with significant steps toward remedying non-reciprocal trade and addressing U.S. economic and national security concerns. But what does that vague phrasing mean? Digging into the details, it boils down to a few key areas. First, progress on fentanyl flows a major U.S. demand. Bessent has tied tariff relief to months of verifiable reductions in synthetic opioid exports from China, which fuel America's deadly crisis. Reports suggest Beijing has cracked down on precursor chemicals, but enforcement is spotty, and skeptics call it window dressing. Second, concessions on intellectual property and market access. Post-Stockholm talks, China signaled willingness to ease restrictions on U.S. firms, including tech giants. They've paused, adding American companies to their unreliable entities list, and hinted at boosting purchases of U.S. soybeans and energy, echoing unfulfilled Phase 1 promises from 2020. Third, national security nods. Beijing has dialed back rare earth export bans, which crippled U.S. manufacturing briefly in spring. But here's the criticism: these steps are tactical retreats, not structural reforms. China hasn't dismantled subsidies for state-owned enterprises or ended forced tech transfers. Trump's team hails it as victory, but it's more like Beijing tossing crumbs to keep the wolf at bay. Ridiculous, really claiming significant progress when core grievances fester. It's like praising a thief for returning one stolen item while keeping the safe. The third round of talks wrapped in Stockholm on July 29, 2025, with U.S. negotiators like Bessent and China's He Lifeng touting deepened mutual trust. Yet for 2 weeks, Washington sent baffling signals. One day, officials claimed no deal without Trump's nod. The next, leaks suggested consensus on extension. Why the confusion? Internal rifts in the Trump administration. Hardliners eyeing midterms pushed for escalation to rally the base. Moderates feared economic blowback, supply chain disruptions, higher input costs for U.S. manufacturers. Add Trump's unpredictable style. He urged China to quadruple soybean buys on August 10th, then signed the extension. Amid market jitters, This flip-flopping is irrational and damaging. It erodes U.S. credibility, making allies question Washington's reliability. Foolish, too, like a poker player showing their hand mid-game, Beijing exploited the chaos, announcing the extension first and projecting calm. China jumped on the extension announcement post-Stockholm, confirming the 90-day pause. Since then, radio silence on U.S. barbs. No retorts to Trump's fentanyl demands or soybean ultimatums. What's Beijing thinking? They're channeling Muhammad Ali's rope-a-dope, leaning on the ropes, absorbing punches, waiting for the opponent to tire. As one commenter noted, China knows every US-EU move and counters in advance. This is Mao-era protracted war. Buy time, build resilience, avoid direct clashes. Xi Jinping's playbook: insulate via domestic demand boosts, crack down on overcapacity, and fortify supply chains. No Twitter rants, just steady progress towards self-reliance. It's brilliant patience against Washington's volatility. Criticize the U.S. here. Mixed signals scream disarray. China's quiet confidence exposes it as weakness. In this tariff tango, the pain isn't equal. U.S. consumers foot the bill. Tariffs act like a tax, raising prices on imported goods. Studies show Americans bore 93% of the costs, with manufacturing jobs lost due to higher inputs. Inflation ticked up 0.5% in early 2025, hitting middle-class wallets. China slowed down yes GDP growth at 5.2% vs pre-war 6, but resilient. They've diversified exports to ASEAN, boosted domestic consumption, and retaliated surgically. For example, earth bans, Beijing's state control cushions blows. Washington's free market amplifies them. Bottom line, U.S. hurts more short-term. Irrational to wage a war where your own citizens pay the price. Foolish hubris ignoring basic economics. The next 90 days, to November 10th, offer breathing room. Expect piecemeal deals, more U.S. ag purchases, ease tech export curbs. A Trump-Xi summit could seal it, building on Stockholm's trust building, but sticking points loom: IP theft, subsidies, fentanyl enforcement, odds of a mutually satisfactory pact. 50/50ths. China won't bend on core interests. Trump needs wins for 2026 midterms. Progress likely incremental, but full agreement? Elusive without compromise. Ridicule the optimism. Endless extensions mock art of the deal. First, verify. The U.S. accounts for about 14% of global merchandise trade exports plus imports averaged. Yes, confirmed, down from 15% pre-pandemic per WTO data. Now if major blocs EU, China, ASEAN decoupled fully, catastrophe for America. Welfare losses up to 0.9% GDP, supply chains shattered, inflation soaring 5%, global fragmentation could cost 7% world output. U.S. isolation would amplify vulnerabilities. Think rare earth shortages, tech lags. Irrational to provoke the world when you're not invincible. Foolish brinkmanship risks turning allies into adversaries. Beyond the basics, let's spotlight what grabs eyeballs. Trump's art of the deal vs Xi's protracted war, a clash of styles that's pure theater. Analogies like rope-a-dope add flavor, broader ripples. How tariffs fuel a levy booms in China, or strain U.S. allies like India hit with 50% duties. Personal stories, farmers thriving on soybean deals, consumers griping over prices. Engage with polls. Who blinks first? Ridicule the hypocrisy. Trump bullies small nations but extends truces to giants. This mix of drama, data, and digs keeps viewers hooked. There you have it, the U.S. Chinist and off-decoded. No easy wins, but plenty of lessons in strategy and folly. Subscribe for more insights, like if this clarified the chaos, and comment, who do you think hurts more? Until next time, stay informed and question the spin.